Hello everyone and welcome to Star Wars On High. Thank you for stopping by. We are back with my review for episode 4 of The Acolyte. I decided to take a little vacation from work this week, so I'm happy that I was able to get this review out in a reasonable amount of time. So I know a lot of people were a little uprooted from last week's episode, but I 100% think this episode made up for it and came back with the building suspense and moved the story along well. However, now I think it was smart for us to see the flashback, as now we can see whatever happened really affected Kelnaka, especially with him having the symbols from the Coven all over his makeshift house. His role in this story may be much more involved than the other Jedi, and we've seen it from a lot of the promotional material that he's going to have a fight with Torben at some point, but who knows when that episode will be, but that is when we were probably going to see how involved he was. As far as episode 4 goes, this was a great episode, especially for all of the Jecki fans out there. We got a lot of her in this episode, and I can see that she's slowly becoming friends with Osha. I really love the dynamic between the both of them, especially when Osha mentions that she'll look her up the next time she's on Coruscant, and they can both get drinks and talk about Master Soul. That is a short story I would love to read about. I will say that there was one thing in this episode that shocked me the most, and that was the surprise cameo from Jedi Ki-Adi-Mundi. But it honestly made me feel a lot better at the same time. Since this show was announced and we saw the red lightsaber in the teaser, we knew that they had to do this right in order to avoid his line from the Phantom Menace.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
So seeing that he was in the room when these discussions happened, and when Vernestra said that this needs to avoid the ears of the High Council, clearly we are seeing the cover-up happening, and he's potentially a part of it. Obviously, we still need the rest of the show to see how well this all plays out, but knowing that they put Ki-Adi-Mundi in this series tells me that Leslie Headland is smarter than we are giving her credit for. She knows the lore, and she knows what she has to do to get around it, especially when you take into account that the group of Jedi that travel to Kofar don't involve Ki-Adi-Mundi. Now yes, there is a Keldor Jedi with them, but that's just not Plo Koon. I think all of these new Jedi are going to end up dying in episode 5, potentially with some of our lead cast as well. On the other side of things, I really enjoyed the screen time for May and Kymir as they start closing in on the Jedi. Kymir is still absolutely on my suspect list, still right at the top, and him constantly playing dumb and being oblivious I think is just genius. I know he's doing it on purpose, and he's waiting until the absolute last second to reveal it, even going as far as to fall for May's trap in order to look vulnerable. The Sith have been in hiding, so of course they would be able to hide from the Jedi in plain sight, just as Palpatine and Plagueis did. I will say that May's change of heart did seem a little too abrupt for my liking, but at the same time I can understand it. She was only following the path of the dark side to get revenge for the death of Osha, but now that Osha is alive, she really has no need for revenge. Which again adds to the story of what else happened on Brendok. Why not continue the revenge for the rest of her family? There's still so much to the story that we don't know. But I suppose at the same time it could just be a perfect example of how the dark side is taking advantage of May and her emotions, just using her as a weapon. Now, one thing I really was not a fan of was Kelnaka's reveal. Having him killed off screen seemed pretty cheap to me, but the horror movie fan in me loves it because I know what they were trying to do. The Jedi are lured into a trap for the supposed Sith to reveal himself, and I gotta say, this whole scene freaked me out big time. They really drew on a lot of horror aspects for this scene, from the off-screen kill to the creepiest movements we've ever seen in Star Wars. Watching Darth Smiley slowly rappel down and glide towards May made my skin crawl. It's really unnatural and unnerving, and her being so far back from the Jedi made me side with Sol by yelling at the TV for May to run away. But leaving us on a cliffhanger like that is absolutely absurd, and I hate that we have to wait a week to see what happens next. Right now, I am loving the series, and that ending scene was one of the best Star Wars moments we've had in a while. This ghostly being just slowly coming down before the Jedi and showing off an immense power. I still don't know if May has caught on to it yet, but it clearly has to be Kymir. She even said that she had doubts her master could make it this far into Kofar without a guide. Well, Kymir is the Sith, and he is the guide, so he knows the land, he knew where Kelnaka was, and even got there well before May did. So I think it's pretty obvious at this point. Still, I loved the reveal of the Sith, and I'm extremely excited for the action that we are going to be seeing next week. But what were your thoughts on episode 5? Do you think the suspense is building well? Who do you think is behind the mask of Darth Giggles? Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you to everyone who stuck around to this point in the video, and we hope to see you again very soon.